What's up, people? In this video, I'm going to tell you 2 live betting hacks that will make you money when you're betting on MMA. So my name is James Blissett. I'm a professional sports bettor and founder of Lucrative MMA, which is my handicapping service where I help people make money from betting on MMA. I also have this channel, Lucrative MMA, where I make free content, free videos just like this to help you with not only making money on MMA specifically, but also gambling in general. Today though, we're going to be speaking about live betting. Not everybody can live bet, but live betting can be a gold mine if you have the ability to do so. I personally have made a lot of money on live betting, and I'm going to tell you 2 hacks in this video on how you can do it too, how you can make money when you're betting specifically on MMA. So first, let's give a little backstory on live betting, right? Live betting hasn't been around forever. You know, when I was first gambling, live betting was not available the way it is available now. Online, you can just live bet on your phone. Most bookies have some form of live betting available. Not every country offers live betting. Even in the countries that don't offer live betting, there are ways around that sometimes. We won't speak about that in this video, but I believe that live betting is a great tool for the gambler these days, right? It's something that we can use to our advantage because betting is hard enough, but when you're live betting, it makes it a little bit easier most of the time. There's multiple reasons for that, right? One of the reasons is because we have real-time data on the event that is happening. So for example, if we're talking about MMA, if we're talking about Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, which was a fight that happened a few days ago, right? This weekend just gone. In this fight, before the fight, if we're gambling on it before the fight, we have to make a lot of guesses as to who's going to win the fight. Obviously, they had fought twice before, so there was a little bit less guessing than in most fights, but we still had to guess a lot, right? They hadn't fought each other in 6 years. Alex Pereira only had about 6 MMA fights. There was a lot of guesswork involved. If we live bet, there's a lot less of guesswork involved because now we have seen them fight for a period of time. You can live bet after round 1, after round 2, in between rounds. So if you live bet after round 2, for example, in this specific fight, you've already got 10 minutes of data on these 2 guys. So you may not have known who was going to be landing the jabs more. You may not have known how they would size up, how they would look together in the octagon, who would be the bigger man. You may not know who would be on the back foot, who would be pressuring. Things like this, right? Before the fight, you may not have known that. Once they get in the octagon, now you know that. So there's so many unknowns that are now knowns when you're live betting. Another benefit of live betting is that the bookies do not have the luxury of spending 2, 3, 4 weeks, sometimes even longer, determining what line they want to put out. They also don't have the luxury of putting a line out, putting a $200 limit on it, and letting the market correct that line. When bookies release live lines, they have to make it up from their head instantly with the data that they're seeing in real time. Oftentimes they can get this wrong and they can put out a line that is very inaccurate. They don't have the luxury of spending 3, 4 weeks before they put out a line. They have to put out a line instantly as the fight is going on, as the event is going on. Now for this reason, there are often mistakes in the lines that they put out. So we can capitalize on this, and there's going to be 2 ways that I'm going to tell you today on how you can capitalize on it, specifically when you're live betting on MMA, right? So the first way is fading people with a bad gas tank. Now what that means is if a fight is playing out and one fighter is dominating the fight, right? There are a lot of fighters in MMA who do this as well. They come out in the first round, they dominate the first round, but they don't have a good gas tank. They can't go a hard 3 rounds. Come that second and third round, they're going to be tired. So if you're watching a fight with one of these fighters in it, and they're dominating the first round, they're clearly winning, they maybe even hurt their opponent, they put their opponent in a few bad positions, but you can see that they're tiring out. You can see that they're getting gassed. When it comes to the end of that first round, you may want to bet on their opponent because the bookies may not realize that the fighter you want to bet against is gassing. All they see is the fighter winning, clearly winning the fight, almost finishing the fight. So they're going to make this fighter a big favorite. But that may not tell the full story because come the second round, come the third round, if your fighter's still in there, they might start to take over. They might start to turn the tide. We know momentum in fighting is huge. So if one fighter has the momentum and is winning the fight easily, that doesn't mean they're going to have the momentum for the whole fight. It doesn't mean they're going to win the entire fight. So you have to look at these spots where you see a fighter maybe tiring out before the bookies see it, and you bet on their opponent at a big underdog odds, and then when it comes to second or third round, the guy starts tiring out, your fighter starts pouring the pressure on, and you cash a nice big plus money ticket. Now, I will say that 2 or 3 years ago, this was a lot easier in MMA. The bookies have become a lot sharper in the last 2 or 3 years, and so you're not gonna get as many opportunities to do this as there once were. But there are still opportunities to do this, and you have to be on the lookout for these opportunities. One tip I'm gonna give you now is when you are doing research for an upcoming card, an upcoming matchup, which you should all be doing. You should all be researching the upcoming card. You shouldn't just bet off your memory, right? Because there's a lot of times where your memory will lie to you. When you're doing research for these upcoming fights, try to look at fighters who gas out. Try to look at fighters who go hard in round 1, but then they don't go hard in round 2 and round 3 because they're too tired to do so. And when their fight comes up on the weekend, you have to have your live betting app, your computer ready on the live betting page. Whatever you do to live bet, you have to have that ready to bet against them. Even if the fight is not going against them, just have the laptop open, have your phone open, and be ready to bet against them. And when the bookies release the lines, depending on how the fight's going, you can see if there is an opportunity for you to jump in and take advantage of that market or not. A little pro tip I want to give you with that as well is that, as I said, the bookies are getting a lot sharper in the last 2 or 3 years, right? So if there's people who are veterans of the UFC or more well-known fighters and they're known to gas, the bookies will often know this too. But if you get a guy or a girl coming in off the regional scene, or a girl or a guy that is a little bit more unknown, the bookies are less likely to price them gassing out accurately with the live betting odds, right? If we have a fighter like Darrick Minner, for example, he is a perennial round 1 or bust guy, right? He fights for the UFC and he usually goes out hard in round 1. If he doesn't finish you in round 1, he usually gets finished or tired out, right? The UFC will know this. The betting companies will know this. And even if he's won the first round, sometimes he won't be a very good price, or he won't be a very big favorite going into the second round because the bookies know that he only has 1 round of gas on him. But there's fighters that the bookies don't know only have a 1 round of gas on him, because the bookies may not be as diligent as you in your research. So if you can find these fighters coming in off the regional scene, or less well-known fighters with only 1 fight in the UFC, or if you can live bet on the regional scene like Bellator, places like this, fighters that are less well-known, the bookies are less likely to price those live betting odds accurately. So when you're looking at fighters who gas, make sure you let the fighters that are more unknown take a precedent over that. It's just going to give you a better opportunity to fade those fighters and make money when you're live betting. The second way, the second hack I'm going to give you to make money when you're live betting is to live bet on fighters who have a dynamic finishing ability, right? So I just mentioned Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira earlier, and I'll mention it again because that was a great fight, one of my favorite fights this year. But Israel Adesanya was clearly winning, right? He was 3 rounds up to 1. He already hurt Alex Pereira, and it was the 5th round, right? Going into the 5th round, he was a massive favorite. I had someone DM me on Twitter and they told me on DraftKings, Israel Adesanya was like a minus 5,000 favorite. I know that on Bet Online, he was like a minus 1,000 favorite, so I'm not sure if, DraftKings labeled him as minus 5,000. But no matter where you looked, before going into that 5th round, Israel Adesanya was a massive favorite. Conventional wisdom tells you, okay, he's 3 rounds up to 1. Alex Pereira needs a knockout. Why would you bet on Alex Pereira? He hasn't got a knockout in the first 4 rounds. Why is he going to get in round 5? Well, we know Alex Pereira has a dynamic finishing ability. He can finish you at any time. And we know that, right? Even in that fight, there was moments during that fight we had Israel Adesanya backed up against the cage and Alex was teeing off on him, and it looked dangerous, I had a bet on Israel Adesanya there, and I was cringing every time Alex Pereira backed him against the cage and threw that left hook, because we know he can knock anybody out. So, if we get into the 5th round and you can literally get Alex Pereira money line or even inside the distance at like plus 1,000, plus 2,000 in some cases, then this is a good spot to bet on them because they have dynamic finishing ability, so they can finish anyone. So yes, most times when you bet on a fighter who is 3-1 down on rounds, hasn't knocked him out and it's the 5th round, in most cases you're going to lose that bet. But if you're playing a line which is plus 1,000, plus 2,000, which you could have got on Alex Pereira before the 5th round, then you only have to win that bet 1 in 10 times to break even at plus 1,000. If you win that bet 2 in 10 times, then you're already making money. And believe you me, MMA is a crazy, crazy game. If you pick your spots correctly, you will win that bet 2 in 10 times, maybe even more. Another way you can use this hack is betting on fighters that have dynamic finishing ability, not only with the KO power like Alex Pereira, but also with the submissions. So someone like Erin Blanchfield, we know that she can get subs from anywhere. Charles Oliveira, we know he can get subs from anywhere. These guys finish fights very quickly, even when they're losing, right? So Erin Blanchfield, she fought the fight before last against JJ Aldridge. She was a massive favorite going in, like -500, but the first round was extremely close, and she arguably lost that first round. So she's not going to be -500 anymore. Now, I don't know the price she was because I wasn't looking at the live betting at that time, and also it was 6 months ago, so I don't really remember, around 6 months ago. But if you would have bet on Erin Blanchfield, you certainly, between round 1 and round 2, I mean, after she potentially lost the first round, you certainly wouldn't be paying a premium for her money line. You certainly wouldn't be charged -500 to bet on her, which you would have been charged pre-fight. But nothing's changed apart from she lost round 1. You still know she's a dynamic finisher. Now, she ended up getting a second round submission. If you would have bet on her between round 1 and round 2, you could have got her for even money, -110, whatever it was, even if it was -150. But if you bet on her pre-fight, it was -500. So you got a massive discount, right? Because she lost the first round. But she still had that finishing ability. No matter how many rounds she loses, she's still going to be able to cinch up a standing guillotine. She's still going to be able to take you down, take you back, choke you out, ground and pound you, get you in a crucifix. Same thing with Alex Pereira. No matter how many times or how many rounds he loses, how many minutes he loses, he's still going to be able to knock you out. So this is another way where you can make money when you're live betting, right? The bookies often inaccurately price big moments. They do that pre-fight, but they definitely do that live. So the hardest thing about this is actually picking those fighters to bet on. But if you get good at it, you can definitely make a lot of money live betting. I've made money live betting on people who seem to be KO or bust, and I've just played their inside the distance line. Because I've said to myself, well, this fight is definitely not winning a decision now. They're 2 rounds down, but they are looking very dangerous. They are looking aggressive. They haven't given up on themselves. Let me bet their inside the distance line. Their money line's like +300. Their inside the distance line's like +600. Let's just play the inside the distance line for a bit. More times than you would imagine, it actually pays off because MMA is such a crazy game. I mean, just last weekend, we saw one of the craziest things ever where Alex Pereira KOs him with 3 minutes left, So this happened this year multiple times, in the 5th round. Jiri finished Glover in the 5th round on a fight that he was probably losing as well. He almost got finished in multiple times. Leon Edwards was getting absolutely dominated. One of the biggest dominations after round 1 we'd seen in a title fight in a long time, and he got a 5th round KO. So these big moments, they seem crazy when they happen, but they actually happen a lot more often than you would think when you go look back on the year. So that's just something to think about when you're betting, right? There's 2 ways I've gave you today. 2 ways I've gave you on how to make money when you're live betting. So I want to know in the comments if you have live bet before and if you've made money on live betting, and how have you done it? Have there been any principles you've stuck to, like the principles I'm telling you now? And we'll recap that at the end of the video. But if you've made any money live betting, I'd like to know if you have any tips, hacks like me, and if you do, what are they? So we'll just do a little recap of the video, right? The 2 hacks on how to make money when you're live betting on MMA. The first hack I told you is to live bet against gassers. And a pro tip on that one was to do your research before the fight so you know who's got a chance of gassing, and try to prioritize fighters who are a little bit less well known, fighters that are coming in on the regional scene, fighters that are fighting on the regional scenes. Prioritize your research on those fighters. Try to find out who's a gasser, try to find out who has a good round 1 and then fades, and have your laptop, have your phone open on the live betting page and be ready to bet against them if the fight is going the way you think it may go, with them gassing out. And the next tip was live betting on people with dynamic finishing ability. Alex Pereira, Charles Oliveira. These type of fighters can be losing the whole fight and then win at any moment. So make sure you're looking out for this. Make sure you have your phone ready, your laptop ready, and you can make a lot of money live betting on MMA with these 2 hacks. I've done it myself personally, and I'm sharing it with you in the hopes that you can do the same. So if you like this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, and I will be back in the next video.